I am super excited to be here with speaking to you. For the last 25 years, I have dedicated my life and time to cybersecurity. Just like many of you, it's a job, but it's also a passion. How many of you started your passion with identity, with cybersecurity, from tinkering with computers at a younger age? It's a lot of you. It's a lot of you. That curiosity to understand how things work, to take it apart, leads to these exciting things. And then cybersecurity becomes this place where every single day is a joy and also terrifying. There's a lot of scary things in the world. But what I get to talk about today is where we are at in this space with identity, and from the lens that I've seen, which traverses across being a hacker, breaking into banks, breaking into governments and telcos, which is where I started my career, to running security programs, to founding companies, to investing in the next generation of cybersecurity. And through all those lenses, why do I believe that identity is the most important piece? And today is the time to be both terrified and optimistic. When we think about identity, one of the interesting things about it is how we translate the physical world that we have into the digital. And so what you see here before you is the definition in US code of a digital signature. And you can kind of contrast that with the wax mark that we used for many, many years ago, and what that might mean today with digital security or digital identity. And the interesting thing about this is there's one line in there which I think is very interesting at the very end, which is with the intent to sign the record. And so as you think about some of the cybersecurity challenges with identity, keep in mind this interesting point. We're trying to map these physical nuances that we had before into a digital reality, and not everything maps directly. Now, of the things that we've tried, what represents your identity? What represents you, your conscious affirmation that you want to take an action, or that you truly are who you say you are? Is it the great blue check mark of Twitter that we all sought out for many years until we flipped that on its head, and then there's a lot of different crazy things about the check mark now? Is it the squiggly line that you put on your receipt as you're swiping a credit card? And I don't know about you, but I always wonder, who's going to check this signature? What is the point of this? Is it the digital identity that we bring into our phone that is the equivalent to our license? Or second factor with YubiKey? Or for those of you that have dabbled in the crypto world, the NFTs that were so popular, the Bored Apes. The interesting thing about this is, sure, it's a piece of digital art, and maybe you could copy-paste it. You could decide if that's worth buying. But what happened with that was the possession of the NFT became a token, an entrance into gated communities. So all these different ways of representing identity. And they continue to move forward as we continue to explore technology with new creative ways. Despite all of these clever, different perspectives and approaches, we're not really solving any great problems here. In fact, when you look at it from the lens of consumer fraud, we're kind of going the wrong way. That keeps going up. It's a nice sales graph, it's a nice revenue graph, but if it's fraud, that's not the direction we want it to go. So that is billions of dollars of reported losses in consumer fraud from the FTC report. So we're not solving the systemic problems that we're looking to tackle. And where we are today, I think is frightening, because it raises the question, you believe this is real, because we're not going to talk about the Matrix. We're not there yet. Let's do that 10 years from now. But this is real because we're in person. But the moment we leave this, the moment we go back to a Zoom or a Hangouts call, how do we know that that is real? The faces can be faked. If we get a phone call, the caller ID can be spoofed. If we listen to the voice of a loved one, that can be faked. And we're at the point now where you can create entire clones of people's entire identity and personality. And some people do this as a gift to their loved ones after they pass on. You can continue to talk to this individual, and they will have memories and well, maybe not consciousness, give that another few weeks, but they'll have memories and insights and personality from the original person. And at that point, what is real? One other interesting note, track me down afterwards. I don't know if you can see that phone number, but if you recognize what that phone number is, let me know that you figured that out.
It's in Moscow.
That is right, it is in Moscow. Yeah, if you don't call that number, you'll be calling the Kremlin. That's not what we want to do. So as we think about this challenge we have of what is real, how does that impact our day-to-day within an enterprise, within a company? Now, if we don't know that something is real because it's not happening in person, in this remote workforce, this global workforce, we face some very real challenges. One case in point is a situation that happened a year ago when a UK firm was targeted and an employee in the office in Hong Kong received a phishing email from the attacker. That email was one we've all seen many times before. We need you to wire funds urgently. Here's the updated information, et cetera, et cetera. But the employee knew that that could be phishing. And so the attacker followed up with, let's make sure we get on a video call to make sure that this is real. And when they got on that video call, they had a fake video of the CFO saying, this is an actual transaction, we want to go ahead and make this and move it forward. So we've now gotten to the point where the attackers are weaponizing fake videos for the purposes of these types of frauds and attacks that are working. And so what's the employee to do? He double-checked, followed protocol potentially. He had a visual confirmation of someone speaking to them to transfer the money, and they lost $25 million in that attack. We can expect many more of those to happen. The attackers are organized criminal elements, and when it works, they will. I'm fighting the identity of my own system. There we go. When it works, who called the Kremlin? There we go. All right. Maybe we have dueling clickers going on. So the attackers will weaponize the attacks is the point, and we're at a pivotal point of what do we trust. So in the topic of what do we trust, here we have an identity. Think about the systems where you do KYC, where you authenticate your customers, and when you're asking for IDs and things like that. All right. Maybe it's me. Let's hold it over here. There we go. Okay. All right. So you're asking for IDs from your customers, and you know that this could be faked. You know that this can be a fake. So you say, again, let's jump on a video call to make sure it's real. And we're going to go to the next slide. I'm going to do it. And bam, there we go. And so we're going to go do a video call. We're going to verify this is a real person. And all right, boom, let's hold up that ID to make sure.
I'll go ahead and show it to you right now.
So we have this confirmation via video that this is the real person. This video I created with a 2-line prompt on Veo 3 from Google that just got released a week ago. Trivial, super easy. This isn't even that good because I spent like 1 or 2 minutes, and that's what turned out, which I believe actually is quite good. Imagine if this is being weaponized by the attackers. Imagine what's possible when you can make the videos easily and fraudulent just like that.
I'll go ahead and show it.
There we go. So we have both this challenge of human identity and what is real, and also this challenge of course, non-human identity, as we start to move past the human experience into services, into workloads. When I was at Twitter in the first 6 months of my role, I got a phone call and was asked by our head of legal to step in the office. And we were notified by the FBI that we had an inside attacker at the company. And they told us that a nation state was targeting us, and that was actually it. They said, good luck. And we asked them, like, well, can you tell us who? We're like, no, we can't do that. I'm like, okay, great. And at that point in time, again, I was 6 months into the role as the first CISO at Twitter. We were building our program. We were assessing our capabilities. We were, building a roadmap of where we needed to go. And so some parts of our security program were better than others. And we had to look in and say, all right, with this nebulous piece of information of someone, somewhere is stealing data, and they're an insider, which of course is the worst scenario because you know that by design, employees have to have access to systems to get their job done. We were going to look for this needle in the haystack. And this was a good 10 years ago, and you can read about various pieces of this. It is public. But we assembled the logs that we had, and I think it'd be shocking to those of you that have friends or work in the incident response space. We had pivot tables and spreadsheets, and lots of them. And it was a rough investigation. But going through that, we were jumping right into this challenge of identity and services and what pieces of information we're translating from our internal applications to our other internal servers, and whether or not we had the information available to decode and figure out this attack. In the end, we actually did figure it out, and perhaps more modern tools at the time may have sped that up. But we were able to identify the individual, but it really brought to the forefront this question of delegated trust, service identity, and what that meant inside of a massive infrastructure. And this was 10 years ago. And so this is when we prioritized a service authentication project because there were not good options at the time. So we built our own, homegrown. And one of the other interesting things about this was that the technology piece of this was not really the blocker. The technology, I think we figured out pretty quick how we wanted to do it. It was the organizational rollout, how you do this in a non-breaking way, how you go team by team, how you track this. Do you have a hard cutover? And it really highlighted that as we tackle some of these hard challenges with identity, it is both technical, but it really is, what does that mean in an adoption curve? How do you do that in a non-breaking way across the complex infrastructure? So that was looking backwards. As we look forwards, what I am both terrified and excited about is the reality of agentic AI workflows and identity. And I see it from a few different lenses. And I don't think we have a solid agreed upon definition yet, so I hope this encourages thought and conversation. But I see it from the angle of the consumer user, the workforce employee user, and the production integration. And each one of those has different user expectations, different ways in which we can do security, and different failure modes. So from a consumer perspective, I can imagine that when we want to book travel in the not too distant future, we are going to have the ability to say, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, just find me the best fares, analyze all the different options, think about all the different connections, and we're going to get a great answer. We're not too far away from that. But then the question becomes, well, what if you want to hand over your credit card to the service to book it the moment that price dips because it's watching it over time? How do we think about enabling AI to take actions on our behalf that could have significant consequences if they go awry? Do we have guardrails for that? Do we have checks and gates that we can put into place? On the other side, I think about workforce agentic. And not to cobble together all the buzzwords, but agentic AI and vibe coding, When you are sitting at your desk and you are in finance, HR, sales, when you used to pull up a spreadsheet and make an Excel macro, what's going to happen next is you're going to vibe code up an agentic AI workflow. And yes, buzzword soup, but that's where we're going to be very, very quickly. And any employee that wants to 10x their work, and they will start connecting internal systems. And these are not going to be things that run through the security team for approval. If you've run a security team and security reviews, you are not going to ask every single person in the company to run those through there. So how do you think about an interstitial layer to seamlessly tackle this problem, to give you some amount of control, governance, logging, minimal privilege? This is going to be a very real problem that's going to hit every single company. And then on the other side of things, production integration. We're going to have agentic AI workflows built into our production servers that are connected, doing all of our business, making all of our money. What does that mean to have those AI workflows taking actions for us? How do we reverse engineer what happened when something goes wrong? How do we get that logging and governance, that predictability? What are those controls that we put around that? And this is not just a hypothetical. I think everyone in this room would agree that this is coming. All of the studies and stats that we have support this. 33% of enterprise software applications are expected to incorporate AI agents. 15% of work decisions will be made autonomously. I actually think that number is incredibly low. I think we're going to see that number skyrocket up to 60, 70%. Areas that were traditionally handled by humans are going to be handled by the new humans, the agentic AI. 68% is the estimate by 2028 of customer interactions handled by AI. And so, again, it sort of brings us back to where we were a moment ago of, what is a human connection? What is actually true and real? And again, to step back into the nice ability of video creation on a whim, I bring together these two ideas for you.
What is real?
So if you haven't played with the newest video creations, I agree. I encourage you to do it. It's very eye-opening in terms of how quickly something compelling can be made, and it opens up all sorts of questions. On a similar note, if you haven't vibe coded up an app, if you haven't coded in 10 years or even ever, again, do that. It will start to connect the dots. It'll start to show you exactly what's possible. So in this space where we can't really trust anything anymore, where everything is fake, it's not all doom and gloom. It's not. I am incredibly hopeful about what's coming. And I want this to be a reality check, an uncovering of what we're dealing with and the challenge in front of us, but an encouragement of where we can go if we focus, because I know we can. And so when we think about focusing on tackling this somewhat amorphous set of challenges, I always like to step back to first principles. Let's take this back to the core ideas and think from there. And from there, we can get rid of buzzwords. We can get rid of acronyms. I mean, I've been in security 25 years, and you could throw an acronym at me. I probably won't know what it is. There's too many. But base principles, first principle thinking holds. So we've come from the past of static identity. We've come from this single point of a username, an employee ID, something that is, static. And we're moving forward. We've moved forward into bringing multi-factor authentication, something you have, know, or are. And so this creates a sort of assembled identity. But it's still mostly static, and it doesn't really change. It's verified at a point in time. We're moving into this three-dimensional concept, delegated and behavioral identity. And so now we're delegating to AI agents to work on our behalves. What does that mean when we have it delegated? What are the checks and balances that I mentioned before? Should you purchase 15 flights? Should you purchase it no matter what? Where do you draw the line? And this is where we start to think about that element of delegation. We think about modeling of behaviors over time. And so it's not just about being verified, but also about acting. And to take this analogy, one step further, also moving into multidimensional, which is this concept of continuous identity and contextual identity. And this is something that I think about a lot as an investor when I think about deepfake detection. It's not so helpful to be able to detect a deepfake in a lab in one particular time. And it's really not that helpful if you can detect a deepfake on one channel of communication, but not the other 8. But really the question is, across everything we do, how do you know that that is trustworthy? If you get a Teams message or a Slack message that says, we need to do X, Y, Z, how much do you trust that identity is been verified at that point in time and not just yesterday or last week? And so this continuous element of security and identity. And so as we look at this challenge in front of us, let's have confidence of what we could do. The path is not going to be easy. This is Marie Curie, who was a Polish chemist, and she was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize. She made tremendous strides in the field of radiology, and a result of the efforts that she put forth saved many individuals on the battlefield with a portable X-ray style technology. But I love the quote that she has of, "I was taught that the way of progress was neither swift nor easy." And that's what I like to get back to, is when we get back to base principles. First principle thinking, this is hard, but we will overcome it like we have done many times over. And so as we think about where we're going, there's so much in front of us. You'll see on the upper right what happens when you visit San Francisco. The hot thing to do for tourists is to hop in a Waymo and be driven around by a car with no driver. There's a lot of the country that doesn't even think that that is a real thing yet, and we have them all the time. Driverless cars are here. We're landing rockets. It's been 50 years since we went to the moon. We're landing rockets back on Earth. The surfer video here, again, completely fake. What's possible to be generated with just a few words is amazing. The idea of connecting our brains to computers, which we haven't even dived into what that means for identity, but that's right in front of us. And then if we thought all of this was enough, that supercomputer right there, quantum. Imagine everything we're doing and then 1,000xing that right in front of us. Maybe we're 5 years away, that's what we say in quantum all the time, but one of these days it's going to hit. And think about the leaps we've made in software with LLMs, think about that 1,000x with quantum hitting. It's a wild world, but we can do it, and we will. And that's what excites me about being in technology and being in cybersecurity is it's messy, it's hard, but innovation is. And we will come out on the other side. So I'm really excited that all of you are here diving into identity, the central point of all of this, the linchpin of everything that matters. And I hope that the following days you continue to dive into these concepts and have some great epiphanies. And so what I'd like to leave you with is a little bit of perspective on where security comes into this, which is, I don't think security is about restraint. It's about enabling. It's the foundation that allows innovation to move forward free from fear. And I thought of that when I was going to the RSA conference. I was taking a Waymo to drive there. I wasn't flying in on a plane, but I was coming in via technology because security made it safe to do so. Security is what lets us go faster. And so I hope we put that lens on how we think about things to enable the future in front of us. Security is a community. I hope to keep in touch with you. If you're weirded out by scanning a random QR code, good for you. But if you want to keep in touch with me, that's also another way. Thank you so much.